Right, yeah, it looks like we've kind of just got the first batch of people in and on, so we will get started now. So thank you all first for joining us for the Moodle Workplace webinar. Really excited to share more with you today about Moodle Workplace, what it is, why it's kind of come around, and look at it in a bit more detail. We have Mr. Gavin Henrick with us, who I will do a full intro to in just a second. He'll be running through the main bulk of the presentation and the demonstration as well. So just a few formalities if we were to get cracking. So Gavin, if you'd be nice enough to slide me on one slide on the presentation. Awesome. So just a quick intro to ourselves for those of you who aren't aware. We're Titus Learning, certified Moodle partner in the UK and Hong Kong as well. We've got a client base in 23 countries, so very global, anywhere from the States across to Japan and plenty of places in between. It's all a bit hectic at this side. I'm actually moving to Dubai on Monday, so that's to kind of continue some of the stuff we're doing over there, but really good fun. And obviously, as a Moodle partner, a range of Moodle services are provided, whether that's the hosting and maintenance and the kind of back-end technical side of things, consultancy on the front end and support, customizations, and obviously moving forwards, Moodle Workplace will be one of the tools that we're using. Gavin, if you'd knock us on another slide, please. So an intro to Gavin, and very privileged to get some of Gavin's time. He's a busy man and he knows his stuff as well. So very excited for him to share this with you. And he was actually involved whilst he was at Moodle HQ in the development of Moodle Workplace as well, and kind of instrumental to that side. So really good to have him, and not many other people who kind of as well placed as Gavin to chat through this. He's a managing consultant at his own company, Learning Technology Services. He's been using Learning Tech, Moodle, and all other tools for a fair little while now. As I mentioned, Gavin worked at HQ and was kind of there throughout that process of Workplace coming together, and regularly speaks on Moodle events, Moodle Moots, and actually is the organizer, again, moving forwards of the UK Moodle Moot. So very well placed to chat with you. As we go through the session today, you've obviously got the chat function, of which you can see a couple of kind of taken use of and advantage of already. Thereafter, any questions that you might have, feel free to put them through and I'll kind of filter those through to Gavin as we are going. So that's about all from me. Gavin, I will pass over to you to get running with things.
Okay, that's cool. Just noticed the comment there about that your voice was coming through a bit distorted. Samath, is my voice okay? We had tested earlier, it was fine anyway, so it's working fine now. That's awesome. So welcome everybody. I see we've got a wide range of people from many different countries. Probably, I think it's 5 continents represented. That's awesome. Hey, Richard there from the Moodle Association. How are things with you? And of course, we've got Gree Stein, who's the product manager at Moodle HQ as well here, sitting in on the call. So maybe if there's any questions I can't answer, I might pass on to Gree. So let's have a quick go then. Moodle Workplace. Now, I've been presenting about Moodle usage in the workplace for, God, it seems like 13 years now. And, you know, what people use learning management systems for internally is usually completely different between organizations. Some of them use it as a sort of a centralized portal information, sort of instead of stuff like SharePoint, where they put all their product information in there. They have communities of practice for their staff. Others use it for training for their staff, so when they come on board and that they get through their health and safety training and any certification type stuff that they do. And others use it for training their clients or even just selling training. So there's so many different ways Moodle can be used in the work environment. And I've certainly seen it used in all those ways. And over the years, different Moodle partners have put together their own packages of different features for Moodle. They've added in certain plugins or built certain features, tackle these areas. And Moodle Workplace was a way of bringing all of that intelligence from that Moodle partner network together, their experience with clients like yourselves, if you're all Moodle users, and I'll be asking that in a moment, to really have a genesis of what was needed in a workplace version of Moodle. And while I was at Moodle HQ, as Seb mentioned, I was involved in that sort of product initiation process. And these were the things which were set out to be done in that first version of Moodle Workplace. And I'm not going to be dealing with all these in this session, but I'm just going to go briefly through them all, apart from multi-tenancy, which is the more complicated aspect of things. And it's certainly not a feature that most people will use. So one of the important things about Moodle is that it can be obviously branded and made look very different, depending on your needs. So Moodle Workplace has its own look and feel, which can still be branded, but it has this extra kind of approach. It has a less academic interface and a more organizational focus, with a more modern interface designed very much with a mobile first philosophy. So it looks really good on mobile, with and without the app. But also the main interface as well has a lot of that design principles baked into it, both on the dashboards and then into the course design as well. So one of the first key things, organizational structure. How do organizations get their users into Moodle? And we all know Moodle is a course-based management system. All of the permissions are course-based, and it doesn't have this hierarchy. So you can't set up a sales department, have a manager, and have users in that. And that's one of the first things that Workplace had to tackle. And I'll show you in a moment when I've gone through these. And so you can go in there and you can set up jobs. You can have also job and histories of when maybe Bob was a salesperson or sales executive for 1 year, and then his next role was sales manager, and maybe then he's a general manager after that with progression. And it has to be able to capture all of that, and it has to be able to capture all of that history. So that organizational structure is a key thing to deal with. And I'm just going to pull up the chat here to see if there's anything. So we've got South Africa there, Kevin from India, from Spain. So a good number of people here. That's great. So, but once you've got all of those users in there in some sort of hierarchy structure, and reporting is a key aspect of that, but you also then want to be able to gather your courses together. Moodle, again, being very course-centric in its native and default implementation. Oh, you can't really grab courses together to get a programmatic overview. And what I mean by that is, if it was in an academic world, you'd have, let's say, mathematics year 1, they might do 10 small courses. You can look at them individually, but you can't look at mathematics year 1 as easily. And within the workplace, you could have onboarding, where you have 7 or 8 separate modules, health and safety, data protection, any onboarding documentation you need, bits about the mission, the vision, and the company, all of these kind of things. If they're separate courses, you need to have a program overview as well. So that was one of the big ones to challenge and to tackle too. And this is certainly a feature that, although it's there for workplace, you could easily see it working in other scenarios as well. And at its core, it's got basically a list of courses, which may or may not be in order. But you can also have some groups and extra logic in there. Maybe your onboarding has 5 core programs that they're going to do, or courses they're going to do. And then depending on what role they are, they'll do 1 of 4. So it has to be able to handle those sort of nuances. And that's where the information and the intelligence from the Moodle Partner Network, like Titus and the others, was really valuable to be able to leverage and get an understanding of what your needs are. Certifications are like a variation on a program, because yes, you might have a program, but what if every year you have to redo some legal certifications which are required? If you're in the insurance industry, every year you have to recertify against the latest legal requirements, or in accounting, the latest accounting practices, and maybe tax changes and so on. So there's so many different things you can use certification for in that respect. And I know certifications definitely were used for data protection when people are getting up to date with GDPR. But it has this extra aspect too, that you either have it or you don't, and you may have to retake it again at some time in the future. So this was a key thing to start tackling as well. And I know this is an ongoing piece of work, with some stuff coming out later as well. So I suppose when you think about it as well, when you do complete a course or a program or a certificate, you often issue a certificate itself, usually a paper one or a PDF that you can print. And having that sort of dynamic system within Moodle is great. Now, Moodle had a concept of a certificate being an activity in a course, as you're probably mostly aware. However, certificates as a concept, they're a site-wide concept. And it was one of the examples of things that had to move from being course-centric to being site-wide centric. So a user might have a certificate that represents a few different courses, just like there was site-wide badges and course badges. So this was one of the other really important things, but it's a good indication of where that fundamental paradigm changed, that change of concept from course to site to implementation. One of the features that people have been looking for years, and there's lots of lovely plugins out there and integrations available for doing reports. But within Moodle, again, because it's course-centric, there was no centralized data store that was permanently there. There was no way to interrogate this. There were some really good reports. I mean, if I was to ask you all, how many of you use the teacher reports in Moodle? Some of them in there are awesome with providing intervention. But you also need to have a different view, a manager level view, to be able to see a list of all your staff and if they've passed a certification or are they overdue, that kind of thing. So we needed a report builder, and that was what was done, and I'll show you that in a moment as well. I must admit, from an interface point of view, it's just sexy. Sorry, Seb, if you don't like me using that word.
You use it as much as you like, Gavin.
Okay, so it's super sexy, but a lot of this is. And one of the other things that you see sometimes in other platforms is the ability to have logical dependencies. So if Bob is from Cork, that's in Ireland, by the way, in the south of Ireland. So if Bob is from Cork, then it will Bob onto the Cork onboarding. Or if Bob is in sales, enroll him onto the sales onboarding. Or if Bob has completed the onboarding, tell his manager, give him a certificate, and buy him a cookie. Cookie being optional. So this whole way of doing if this, then that is something else that's really valuable within a learning management system because it automates stuff. I mean, who wants to have to basically go in and check, has Bob completed this course and that course and that course? Has he done the program? And then manually do it. That's what you face generally. So this is about removing administration by defining all of these rules up front. So let us go in and have a look here. So before I go any further, do you have any questions there that I need answering?
There was one that came through from Somnath just a few minutes back, which whether it's easy to answer that by demonstrating or just responding, but asking a bit more about the workflow process when a user moves around departments. I'm not sure if you've got... Go on.
Well, I can just answer. I mean, so the logic behind that is that whatever their current permissions are is what they can do, and if they have a manager currently who can assign them into a course or whatever it is, that's where they are now. It's just that they have a job history and they may move. And that was one of the other key things. It was having these potentially multiple vertical report lines, having this history as well. That's really important because sometimes people move department. And if you take it to an academic level, they might move faculty or school or whatever it might be. So those sort of things are really important. So it is very flexible in that respect. So I'm currently logged in as a manager. And so my dashboard, when I log in, I can see my team. And you can see here, all of these are sales executives. Okay. And this person's on, so I can actually send them a message, or they were on a moment ago. Then the next part on the dashboard is my programs. And these are ones which are related to me as a user. So I can see here that for company onboarding, I'm 40%. There's a number of the courses here, which I can go into. I have to complete them in any order. And I have a due date, end of the month. So one of the things that we also took from a lot of feedback, or that Moodle took, sorry, from a lot of feedback was the ability to use nudging to help users find where they need to go to next. So this concept of continue on the interface to bring them to where they were next and to let them continue. That's something which was quite important. But you can see here, company mission and vision, I've completed it, but I can review it. This important documentation one, I haven't done it yet, so it's not showing up in my course list, but I can enroll into it now if I want to. Same with ways of working. Health and safety I've completed. Obviously important to do that first. And then data protection as well, so that I can continue that course. And you can see then the actual sort of completion tracking there. And then it's not just that onboarding is all I have to do. Because of health and safety being so important nowadays, people often have to repeat that year on year. So there's also a certification set up for me for this. And because I've done it here, it's also complete down here. So you don't have to complete the course once. It could be in multiple programs or in one program, and then in that you might have multiple certifications, a privacy one, an ISO, or whatever it might be. So, and that kind of concept again was important too, because in Moodle traditionally a course is in a category, and sometimes people used categories to fake programs. But this allows a course to be in multiple different things and affect the outcome of multiple without the person repeating it. So that was a really nice change. But if I go in here and I can then go in and actually review the course that I've done, or in this one I'll just go and enroll. And that's one of the key things as well. We introduced, the collapse topics, very popular course format. But by default now, the Workplace one has a collapsible interface in that respect. And you can see here that there's an introduction that I can go in and have a look at. And actually, this is talking about each of the documents that I have to do. So I go through and look at them all. I've now completed it. And I can go download all of these. I do like the resignation form. I think that's a great concept to give you good, funny ways to resign. And it's okay, I've read all the documents. So now I've completed that. If I go back to my dashboard and have a look at my programs, I can see that this is now completed. Because in the background, all of these things fire off straight away to get that level of completion. And now I'm up to 60%. So it really makes it very straightforward. It's a much cleaner interface. One of the things I haven't shown you, by the way, over here is there was that traditional doc. Well, here, this time when you complete it down, you actually keep the icons here on the left. I know this is used in other interfaces as well out there, but I think this is a nice innovation to let people know that these are still here. Now, as a manager as well, let's see, can the platform be used for running e-learning courses? Absolutely, yeah, that's great response there. So there's multiple features as a manager. Now, when you click on this, you see these three icons. You probably go, yeah, doesn't Google and everybody do this kind of thing now? And yes, a dashboard to the key things that you need to do. So in this case, I can go in and I can have a look at the programs, and you can see here, and I can then add people to that. So if I need to go and add someone in, these are the people who are in my team that are added in, and whether they were allocated automatically. And as it happens, there are some rules set up. So I'm just going to explain a little bit about the program here. So the program has a list of courses that are in it, okay? And I wasn't the one who set up the program, but I can look at it and I can manage users on it. So I can complete these in any order, okay? I can then come in and have a look at the schedule, and this is set up in such a way that there's a start date. A person's expected to complete in 2 weeks, and that's so there can be notifications and warnings if you're late. And then an end date, they've 1 week after that, just in case. And with my team, I can look here and see these were all dynamically allocated. Now I can manually allocate someone, which I'll do just now. Hold on, I'm going to just grab a name here from my spreadsheet. Let's go for Tori. Tori. Nope, no one in my team, because I only have access as a manager to people in my team. And that's one of the other really important things. You can't, that level of security and privacy is really key. So I'll come back to the adding users in a moment. So when you go into dynamic rules, and this is where it becomes interesting. So one, if a user have a status of overdue in that program, send a notification, hurry up, Bob, to the user. So you can be getting in there and giving them a bit of a nudge. But also then once it's completed, you can see the dynamic rule here, issue certificate to the users, award a badge, and send a notification of well done. So that's, from a manager point of view, that's what I can see on the program. So I can see what's in it, who in my team is on it, and what are the various rules around it. Also, I can go in and have a look at certifications and see them in the same kind of way. I can come in and have a look at health and safety. There's no particular date set, but here I can see in my team, oh wow, so Semyon is actually certified here. Now this one, it was done a bit early, so there's no renewing rate, and the program status for is completed. Okay. So, and these were all dynamic users, and I can go in and have a look at them. I could go in and, oops, or not. Always fun when you do that. And then you have the dynamic rules. There's nothing there because the certificate was pretty straightforward about issuing the certificate. And then you have the report builder. Now again, this is just as a manager. So I can come in and I can see people who have done the health and safety or who on that health and safety program, okay? And I can come in here and I can say is in the past or is in the future. So I can add in some filters that I'm allowed to. So from a manager point of view, I can have my own learning. I have my own team. I can see what they're doing. I can allocate them to extra programs or courses if I want to. So it gives you quite a lot of control and visibility as a manager, which you don't typically have in a normal Moodle site. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to go in as an administrator for a moment, if that's okay. So a little bit different, but the key thing here is I've got a lot more I can do. So I'm just going to go in and have a look at the programs now to see it slightly differently. So here I've got a lot more things I can do with programs. And I can literally go in, I'm just going to create a copy of that onboarding one. Onboarding, cool people. Okay. Could put an image in if I want to, add tags. Direct allocation is when people can actually just add people to it rather than having it rules-based. So the first thing you do is you have to add your content. So in this case, I'm just going to add courses. I'm going to come in here and look for health and safety, key, look for data protection, and that's all cool people need to do. So I'll just click save. And do they have to be all in order? Yes. So then they have to be specifically the way here. Or I could choose in any order. Then for the schedule, I can set dates. I don't have to because they can just be dynamic if I want, but I'm not going to set the start date. But the allocation date's interesting. So if you join the company today and you get put onto onboarding tomorrow, we can say, well, actually 2 weeks after you've been allocated to this, that's when it's due. And I can also go, you know, it's either 3 weeks after allocation or after a due date itself. So this allows you to have this dynamic start time. It doesn't matter when it starts, it just matters when they get in, how long they have. And again, people have been asking for this for a very long time. And it's really good to see this kind of feature now there with Moodle. And I know that there's plenty of capacity here for people to have a lot of control on how their courses are done. So I'm just going to save that. Then we can go into users. So we can manually allocate people here, which I'm not going to. And then here you can set up this dynamic rules. Basically, the ones which are users who have completed in the program. So maybe once they've got this onboarding, we're going to issue them something. So we can award them a badge, award a competency, notify them, or we can enroll them onto another course. So let's say you're doing CPD for your staff, or you're doing training courses. And when they've got, say, Project Management 101 done, you want them to go on to Project Management 102, which is a collection of other courses. So you can actually enroll people directly onto something else after this. Or you can issue a certificate, or you can reallocate, deallocate, whatever it might be. So there's multiple ways that you can actually control this. In this case, we're just going to come in and go woot. Okay. And there are some placeholders there available at the moment. User full name, I imagine that's probably going to increase over time. I know some of the Moodle partners have talked about adding more into there. And then you can just enable that. You don't have to. You can just have it listed here, and you can just enable and disable them if you want to. And just to do that quickly, you see this? It's calculating immediately how many people will be affected. Because if already, let's say, 20 people have done those courses in this program, when you click this, they're all going to get a message going, hey, cool, well done. So that's the program structure, okay? And as I said, certification is very similar to that. This is from the admin point of view. But we can also look then at certificates, okay? So when I go in here, No one ever said I was a graphic designer. But I can literally add all of these different pieces in. I can add in extra elements. So what can I add in? I can add in a text field, a user field. I can put in a picture from the user. I can put in a code that's related to it, or the actual date that it was done. You can see down here, that's the date. And so if I can click on that date, by the way, so I just double clicked on it. Oh, come on. Behave. My browser just freak out? It did. There we go. So you've got completion date. You can choose what date is it. It's an expiry. So you might have completed on this date, expires on this date if it's a certification. Okay. You can choose what format it is, depending on what you like. Choose your font, choose your size. And yes, you can move them around, just dragging them around the screen, or you can be very specific. And so for the control freaks in you, you'll want to be absolutely specific. Now that's definitely going there. And as you can see, this is awesome. Okay. And here, this is just an image, the signature. So you can just scan your image or do as I do. Use a font for that so it isn't a real one. So that's what you're managing your templates for your certificates. And because I'm an admin, again, I have this extra level of control. And with each of these, you can see here that you can either edit the content, you can edit the settings for it. So for example, when I go into edit the settings, this is belonging to the default tenant, which is part of that multi-tenancy aspect. Also, I can come in and go, well, how many people have been issued? Well, nobody's been issued in that one yet, because no one's completed it. As you even saw there, the manager was only 60%. But in this case here, you have a code related to the admin user doing this other certificate. Okay. So, and once you've created one, you may just want to duplicate it and edit a few bits and pieces. Easy to do that as well. So that's the certificates. So all of this was really coming from the organizational structure, and this is the primary tenant. So you can see here, there's that manager, and here's the manager I was logged in as, Paul. You'll notice that a lot of these report type pages look similar. And I'll show you why in a moment. But here you've got the set of filters here. So I'm going to show past jobs. So you can see here that Marlon is the global manager, but used to actually be just a manager in the HR department. So obviously got a promotion there last year, or this year, in fact, yesterday. Woohoo, congratulations. And Paul as well got a promotion from a sales executive to the manager in the sales team. So that's excellent. You can see those there if you want to, or you can just focus in on any specific positions you've defined, and I'll show you that in a moment. So it allows you to really drill down to what information you want with regard to to different people and where they're assigned. So in here, I only set up, they call them a framework. It's the structure for your organization. And in here, I created a few departments. You can create them all, HR, production, and you can see here then how many people are assigned to them. And you could create sub-departments and such on if you wanted. So sales, you might have inbound sales, outbound sales, or you might have European sales and UK sales. Oh, sorry, that's after October. Shouldn't have mentioned Brexit. We've also then got positions, and you can have a list of positions, and you have a global manager who can do certain extra things, or normal managers and sales executives, or whatever roles you want. Again, just put a minimal amount. And as an admin, I can control all of that, but also the different managers can have a level of control as well. So hold on, I just want to see, there's a question there. Is the program structure a substitute for the learning path structure? Oh, it's much more powerful than that. So I wouldn't say a substitute. It's learning path structure is something that is more competency driven, and not many people use competencies yet, although we hope they will. So this is basically something you can use just with courses, this whole program thing. There doesn't have to be any competencies in here at all. But you can go in, you can see that health and safety, you can see there's one course in it, or if I go on to the onboarding one, you can see it has those 5 courses as part of it. So hopefully that answers your question there, and thank you for that. Okay. So user management is pretty straightforward. It's all the same kind of thing. You can add users, you can bulk upload users. all of my users were uploaded with a spreadsheet looking like this. I'm sure we've all seen these kind of spreadsheets when we're mass adding users. I understand later on some of the partners are looking at some more web service-based integrations and APIs and stuff. However, this is something you can do. You can also allocate people into programs with a user upload, or certifications and into different tenants, so on. I'm not going to bore you with going into spreadsheets too much. I love spreadsheets, but I know that not everybody does. So let's have a look at the dynamic rules. And I'm going through this quickly, so please throw in as many questions as you want. Certificate design look a bit used. For instance, you'd want to see guidelines and snapping to guidelines in order to come up with a good product, and some templates. Absolutely, Richard. I certainly think those are good ideas. A lot of people do the design in a different tool and then just build it in the actual Moodle one as well. Do you really want Moodle to be the same as you said, Canva or Photoshop? I guess you got a call on that, but I certainly like to see those. Maybe you can try and persuade Gree. Gree, where are you hiding again? Somewhere here. So here are the various rules. Sales executive onboarding. So I'll show how this was set up in a moment. But if the user has a position of sales executive, if they've not been allocated to the certification and not allocated to the company program for onboarding, then allocate them. So it's basically going, if anyone has suddenly got a role of sales executive and they haven't done these, it's automatic, they're done. And that's the kind of automation you want. To the person who mentioned, yeah, Gree is hiding in Burnley at the moment. So, if somebody moves from one job to another, you want them to immediately get to allocated into those programs or certifications that they now need for that job. Now, they might have completed some of the courses, and maybe onboarding for a salesperson is different to an onboarding for support staff because they might have 2 extra courses. So that's all they're going to need to complete in that new program. And that's a really powerful, simple way. It's just going to save you time. It's really nice. But setting this up, it's really complicated. We go in and we go, okay, so what are the conditions? Well, you can either have user last login, so if it's not set. So what happens if a user hasn't been logged in? They're a new user, okay? So we can either have not set, over, in last, ever, never. We'll go for never. So users who've never logged in, brand new to the platform. That's the first one. What else will we go for? Well, if they're new to the system, we can say, well, okay, if they're in a certain department, and in this case, if they're in production, okay, or any sub-department for production. And is there anything else there we want? Well, if they're brand new on the platform and they've never logged in, they're unlikely to have any of these other conditions. So we won't need to do that. That's fine. So what actions are we going to take? Well, we want to basically enroll them. Okay, so we're going to allocate users to a program. They need to go in and do onboarding. And we'll do the onboarding for cool people. Okay, and we'll tell them. Okay, and we let their manager know. So, I mean, yes, you could have a lot more options and features here, but sometimes keeping it simple is really powerful here. A certain product manager once told me, you know what, every time someone asks you for a feature in a product, your default answer should be no. Why should it be there? You know, it's but this, I think, it's the bare minimum of what you need. You need to be able to notify the person and also notify their manager. And then I can just come in, I can click on enable. It's not going to affect anyone because everyone who is in that department is already doing something. Or in this case, there's nobody in the department. Okay, is there any other? Okay. So, any other questions at this point, or any other thoughts?
I think just to skip back, Gavin, to Catherine's question, just to add some clarity to that one. So I'd obviously written there, so can the platform be used for running online e-learning courses for external customers? And as I've said there, the short answer is yes. A lot of what's been created, whether it's the multi-tenancy, the program structure, some of the user allocation stuff that Gavin's just shown us, was created with Workplace in mind, but I think it was very quickly realised by everybody who's kind of been involved with it, is that it's an extremely powerful tool, and there's lots of benefit to other organisations and organisation types. So we've personally had quite a number of people come to us who are either commercial course providers or similar kind of position to yourselves, where it's not just internal staff who are using it. So the answer is yes, it's very powerful for a range of organisations, and that's where the multi-tenancy side, which we've not talked too much about, that can come into its own as well, whether that's for white labelling different sites and giving people their own area to manage and control. So hopefully that adds a bit of clarity to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that even with this, you could even have managers, and you could set up departments as different clients, perhaps. There's so many different ways you can do it, depending on what you want. But yeah, I imagine this being used in universities for exactly that purpose, but also not just necessarily for clients, but also universities have changed. A student, when they graduate, is no longer the outcome. They're also a lead. They're an opportunity to sell ongoing training to and upskilling to for the rest of their lives, which is why you have so many working with stuff like Future Learn or Coursera. So I do think that it's going to be heavily used by universities for dealing with the outside. So there is also a much cleaner interface in that respect. So just going to show you one other thing here as a user before I go into it. Okay, so I'm logged in as one of those users, by the way, here, and it is on IE. So I've used the three browsers, IE, Firefox, and Chrome. So in this case, I can't pronounce that. All these names are my wife's fault. She gave me that spreadsheet with random names on it, so I can't pronounce half of them. So I'm sorry. Or it's not her fault, it's to her credit. So here's the programs for the user, just like the manager had, and in this case, they've done nothing. And with courses, they're not in any courses at the moment, they're not enrolled into anything. And up here, there's a new sort of mini dashlet or dashboard for a user where they can go directly to profile, grades, and so on. But if you then go in and enroll in a few courses, which I will do, okay, and just for the purpose of this, I'll come in and I will, okay. You can now see your courses here with your completion, with the due dates against them. And this is something else, I think. It means that people didn't always need to go to the dashboard to know on what they're working on. This gives them that direct access to the stuff that they're doing. I think that's one of the key things with this. It really simplifies those workflows for users from going from one place on the platform to the other. So let's go back to here. So it's one of the tackle the report builder as the main piece, because this is a super sexy piece of it. It just changes a lot. So sorry about the phone in the back. So if we go in here again, I'm back in as myself, so I'm an admin. And this is how the report builder works. We've got all the tables or source of data over here. Here is the report in itself, and currently it's a program name, program full name, and also then the name, the username. You can also have filtering with conditions and sorting on this side. Well, that's a pretty poor report. So what would people normally want to see if they're going to want to see their team and on a specific program where they are? Well, we'll probably want to see, when they started it, perhaps. Now I can just click on it, or, I can just drag it in. Okay, so there's due date, and then maybe their status as well. And in this case, I've got where the full name of the program contains health as being one of the options here as a condition. And I can add in multiple conditions if I wanted to. I could have people who are only in a certain position. So actually has a job in a position, which position we're going to go for. So only sales executives. So immediately those managers are gone. So this is as an admin, I can set up, manage these kind of reports and make them available to others. So you can also add in filters. In this case, I've got program completion or not as one of the filters. Okay, so I'll just remove that for the moment. If you want to see how it's going to look, you can switch to preview view. So this, you'll see from elsewhere, we're actually using this functionality within the product itself to make it, or not we, Moodle HQ is. Gosh, sorry. Let's add a filter in. Let's have a filter of, I don't know. Yeah, just to do program completion. So here now, suddenly, even a user who's just looking at it will have access to the filters. And obviously, you might want to have a filter of name. If you're using it at a university and you've got 300 people in a course, you'll only have a filter down to their name. So in this case, that's obviously completion. So let's go back. You also then got a schedule. So what can happen with a schedule? So you can basically have a schedule, and this is a Gavin run. That's very unusual. Doesn't happen a lot. So we can say the report have health. We're going to send an Excel document or maybe a PDF on this time. Who are we going to send it to? Well, let's send it to the HR team, okay? Or we can specify, you know. And the reports will always have the same information that they would normally see. And you can add a custom message to it and save changes. So I've scheduled something to happen, and it hasn't been sent yet. But understanding people who can actually access reports, there are people with the different capabilities that will be able to access it for their teams. And in this case, this is key. So Marlon will be able to access it for their team and Paul for his teams. And that's one of the key things with any of these kind of reports. That you really can control what they are. And you also got aggregation. In this case, there's not much point in aggregation because I have that filter. But let's go and remove the condition for full names. Now you can see company onboarding and health and safety as two of those. So you could aggregate and let's see, unique values. So it becomes unique for the user, the full name, and so on. So you can generate a certain level of uniqueness in it. And you can see down here as well, this is completed. And also the user can download these directly as HTML table or spreadsheets or whatever it might be. Ooh, is that another question?
Couple of bits that just came in there, Gavin, which you might be looking at. And so one question from Louisa asked around, can you schedule a recurring report or is it a one-off?
Okay, so that's a good question. I don't see the recurring aspect here. Gree, if you're still there, can you handle that? My understanding was the idea was these were going to be were once off, but ultimately I know that they had talked about adding in that recurring one. So Doug, I'll show you just very quickly about the course creation part as well, because it's very like Moodle. It's just got some different aspects to it. So one of the things with reporting, and that's probably what influenced this as well, you know, reporting is a great thing, and outbound reports which come into your email is really good because it doesn't mean you need to log in to do something. But we don't always look at those reports. You might want to set up exception reports. You might want to set up reports which are going to be just giving you the information you need and only when you need it, when you can act on it. As a business analyst said, don't ask a question unless you're going to do something with the answer. So, but you can log in and get these reports anytime you want, or you can schedule them to be sent out to specific people. So you might have, at the end of a quarter, getting an actual email sent out with the completion status of all the different courses of all the different users to HR, for example, so they can see what it is. You don't need to go into Workplace to actually be able to pull that out. So, oops. So yeah, so that is the basics around Report Builder. There's a lot there and a lot of ways you can use it. What I'll do is I'll go and have a look at one of those courses, by the way. So, and these are just simple. They're just simple examples, okay, of courses. So this is to be able to tackle those. So, so as a course developer here, it was just a very simple thing. So one, a lot of onboarding courses are generally blended. So you do some stuff in the real world and some stuff online. And in this case, they're using a label with self-completion. And what does that mean? It means that the user will tick this to do something, okay? I'm just gonna go and turn editing on here. So it means that you can literally have whatever you want there as a statement. It could be accepting an honor code. It could be that they confirm that they have actually done the practical test or attended the practical training if they were learning how to do something with a physical item. And before they go on and complete the rest of it. Okay, and for, oops. Go back to there. Oops, sorry about that. Don't you love live demos? Back to here. And literally, I just allow them to do, students can mark the activity completed themselves. Okay. You do set an expected date, but you don't have to do anything else. So this format here, it's very similar to standard Moodle. But what you go in, so it's changed a little bit of layout here, less words, more icons. You still have an activity adder and for adding resources in. All the icons have changed, as you'll see. They're more in line with the brand of Moodle Workplace, but I think they just look fresher, you know. So you can go in here and you can build a quiz if you want. You can go in and build a book if you want. And I don't know if you're all familiar with the book resource. So if you come in here and go, right, so what's this book going to be? Maybe this is the induction manual. Yeah. And it's going to have lots of stuff in it. So just save it. And then in a book, you basically create page after page. So like this is page 1, and you might put in a hello video here. And actually, you know what? You can just do that now. Oops, it won't let me do it because I'm talking to you. But you could just record a video directly into here, or record audio, or upload and embed a video from YouTube or wherever it might be. And then you can create more pages. This is your table of contents in the online book. It's a collection of web pages in essence. And so we'll just do another page 2 here. Page 2, more stuff. Blah, blah. So that's just creating HTML content on the system. And as you can see here, that's now one of these items appearing in the course. You can just drag and drop these around if you want. No, let's leave that one. We've also then got assignments, and assignments, again, it looks slightly differently than it was. And in this case, I'm going in as an admin again, so it is still the Moodle assignment, but it's just a little bit different. Here, you've also got H5P. Now, H5P, I don't know how many people are aware of H5P. It's one of these interactive visual plugins that you can get for Moodle. And I know that Moodle is doing something about integrating some of this functionality into core. I think that's for the release next May, was it, Bree, if you're there? So I love and I don't love H5P, but that's a lot of this functionality will be best there once it's actually in core Moodle. So what did I build here with H5P? I built multiple slides, basically. It's the equivalent of a PowerPoint in Moodle with a question at the end, okay? So if I just go back out and come down here and go through it, if you're all into data protection and privacy and stuff, you'll know all of these different bits and pieces. So here we go with our question at the end. Which of these are a valid legal basis for processing personal data? Can anyone spot the one which isn't? Well, that's great news there. Gree's just saying the H5P, there'll be some part of core Moodle with that over 3.8 and 3.9. I imagine there's a lot in there, Gree, so that's certainly not surprising. That's going to take a long time to get it all in, or to get most of it in anyway. So here we go. I'll just tick the ones, obviously because I want to, is clearly wrong. So this is knowledge check stuff. It's not real quizzes with the same type of power that you have in the Moodle quiz and in one of the other courses. But you can do these nice, simple knowledge checks as well. And in some ways, I see H5P as a replacement for SCORM rather than a replacement for Moodle core features. So that was that one. Coming in here, let's have a look at what's the health and safety. So in this case here, it was actually a quiz. So this is implementing some questions in a quiz. So this is obviously health and safety. So when lifting a load, you should stand close to the load and center yourself over it with your feet shoulder width apart. Is that true or false? Anybody?
I'm going to guess true.
You're going to guess true. Okay. And as with quiz, this is a standard quiz interface. As a user can see it, they know what question number they're on and so on. Whilst lifting, your back should remain straight. I think that's probably true. They were just true and false ones. And Moodle has lots of different question types. And this is another one of them. So you may be setting yourself up for something pain. I imagine back pain. Excessive pressure on spinal discs. And leading to pain. And pain leads to anger. And anger leads to hate. And hate leads to having watched Star Wars earlier today. So, and there's the quiz. And this one is a much more high stakes quiz. It's more robust. There's an awful lot more options available to you. But that's as an admin, and you can get your comprehensive feedback and so on. So, going back to that, we have the courses, we've got programs, which are collections of courses. Well, Caspar, Moodle Workplace was designed to be something which is unique in itself because people are used to the other product. There's 105,000 registered Moodle sites. Now, in my own experience, less than 20% of people register. So let's assume you've got over 500,000 Moodle sites out there. That I don't think is an unreasonable guess. Making big fundamental changes to the UI. Gree could probably give us a 4-week course on product integrity and product change and all of that. So with Workplace, some of these, again, I don't know how Moodle Core will adopt stuff from Workplace. I know some stuff will end up there. Gree has, as far as notice, being no decision on exactly what. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that I'll speak on Gree's behalf there, Gavin.
Okay.
But like I say, it's nothing's been decided yet in terms of what will be pushed back into core, but over time, there's a chance that certain features will be put in there. There are, again, additional things you can do with that, whether it's kind of creating your own custom course formats and other bits, like if you didn't go down the workplace route.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and personally, I think that, yes, having that collapsible stuff there, to me, is a bit of a no-brainer. Hey, but I'm not a developer. No-brainers hate what I say. Oh, that must be really simple. And having the dragging and the tick box here, using this sort of material design approach. Again, in Moodle Core, the tick box is over here. When you've got a wide screen and a lot on the page, so I think it's nicer having it there, and here, obviously, the lock button. So there's lots of really little innovations there, which may or may not go into core. I must admit, love having the kind of things like expand all or collapse all on these as well. And less text, it just looks cleaner.
Right, I think on that note then, we'll say thank you obviously for everyone joining. I hope it's been useful. Any follow-up questions thereafter, you can see the email address hello@tituslearning.com. So love to hear from you. If they would like any kind of follow-up webinar, let's go into some bits in more detail. We're happy to kind of run one of those over the coming weeks and months, and like to do this type of thing more often. So yeah, final thank you, goodbye. We'll share all the details and, like I say, get in touch with any questions.